actual council meeting for the term this council, and I think this makes meeting 104. This council, just council meetings in the chamber, excluding your advisory committee meetings. So all welcome, and I call for any apologies.
Mr Mayor, we have no apologies this evening.
I think we do have one. We have an apology from Deputy Mayor Councillor Glenn Taylor.
Oh, Mr Mayor, I'm terribly sorry.
And I might just start by saying Councillor Taylor home from hospital today or yesterday, I think, after a stint in hospital, and then start treatment. Someone, you've moved those apologies? Second, Councillor Romano, all in favour? Against, thank you. This council meeting is being live streamed and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if and when you speak at this council meeting that you ensure you're respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of the council meeting. A recording will be made for administrative purposes. Bernadette Collins with us. Thanks, Bernadette. Would you like to come forward? Prayer. Thanks very much, councillors.
Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight asking for your guidance, wisdom and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that might affect our community. And continue to remind us that all we do here tonight and all that we accomplish is for the well-being of everybody in the Orange community. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, just silence. Late last week, lost Dennis Gregory, an institution here in Orange, starting off at a young age working with the CWD as a print setter, grew and became a very successful journalist. Down to Sydney and was a journalist, in conjunction with some other people from Orange that put some marvellous books together around New South Wales and Queensland. One taking the photographs, Dennis doing the narrative with it. But I think he'll probably be remembered for what he did maintain the Nublar race course. He goes right around the perimeter of Bloomfield Hospital. It was Dennis's vision to get that recognised, interpretive signs that are out there, and also I saw the plans just recently of a clubhouse museum that he has on the Boyle, and of course he started the event that has resulted in over 600 cars usually being here in January. People that come along with that, and a dinner that you have to get on the waiting list about 3 years before the actual dinner. So, ladies and gentlemen, Vale Dennis Gregory. Thank you very much. Dennis's funeral will be next Monday over at the Function Centre. Also, just before I go into acknowledgement of country, I would like to acknowledge a well done, because we have Councillor Sam Romano here too. He's a young fellow, Andrew Romano, who was went to school here in Orange, played with Orange City Rugby, then was chosen in the academy side up with the Queensland Reds, also in the Junior Wallabies camp, and he's now got a contract with Western Force over in Perth. So please pass on to your good wife and the rest of the family. Well done.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. If I
You're telling his mother.
You're going to have to learn all the rules now.
was that, sorry?
You're going to have to learn all the rules.
Must have a talented mother.
Yeah, his mother was very talented. Look, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to just pass a message on to all the boys and girls of Orange that there is hope. Just because you come from Orange doesn't mean that you're not going to get picked up by a premier club somewhere in Australia or overseas. So it's not just about Andrew. With the point I'm making, it's not just about Andrew. I think all the kids in Orange could look forward to achieving if they really put their heart to it.
Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of the land. I would also like to pay respect to the elders, both past and present, of the Wiradjuri Nation, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal Australians who are present. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence tonight of all of our senior staff. To see you all here. Jennifer Bennett, who heads up the JOC, and to Di Turner, wife of Russell Turner, and my wife, Ed. Very much for being here. Does any councillor wish to declare any conflicts of interest in any matter for consideration at the council meeting? If not, councillors, in front of you, you have 3 late items. One is 2.1, a referendum on number of Orange City Councils. 2 is a waiving of function centre fees for a funeral. And 5.10 is a general report. That's about the Joint Regional Planning Panel, Orange Region Representatives, extensions. Someone move it.
I'll move that, Mr Mayor.
Councillor, second, Councillor Romano, all in favour? Thank you. Let's move on. First of all, we have item 2.1 is a late item, a referendum on the number of Orange City councillors. Self, seconder.
I'll second it.
Seconder, Councillor Mileto. Look, councillors, what this is actually about, this doesn't affect council now or into the future. The last time we had a look at this was back in 2008 when we had 14 councillors and we went back to 12 councillors. Most regional councils in New South Wales and other states, the size and bigger than Orange, have 9 councillors. Have an odd number for a reason, to say that you don't have to use a casting vote. Some councils have 10, but the majority have 9 councillors. What would it involve would be next council elections, nearly 4 years' time, there would have to be a referendum. The people would have to vote in the majority. They want 9 or for it to remain as it is. If they goes for 9, it wouldn't happen for another council term after that, so it'd be 7 or 8 years. Thanks, Councillor Nugent.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, for putting this forward for discussion. I do have some concerns about this coming up at the last meeting of council during the caretaker period. I know we're not sort of making a decision tonight, and I note the recommendation is that information contained in the mayoral minute be acknowledged, but because other councillors have 9 councillors, I don't necessarily think that that means that Orange have or needs to have 9. One of the criticisms of this particular council is that we've lacked diversity of representation, and my concern about reducing from 12 to 9 councillors is that we potentially limit the opportunities for greater diversity on councils, so a greater diversity of voices on councils. So while I see it's really for discussion, if we were to make a decision made effectively in support of this, does that oblige the new council to consider it? Does it oblige the new council to run a referendum? I think it's a matter for the new council to consider when they come on board, and that council with its makeup, with the new mayor and with a number of new councillors can make that decision for themselves at that time.
You, Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Listen, I support this 100%. As you know, yourself is well travelled, and so are some of the other councils around the state, and we see what the numbers are in other councils. But one of the issues is, as you say, it's not going to be for probably another term or a term after that, which is possibly 7 to 8 years. But a lot of water can go under the bridge between now and then. We might get a government that's got a bit of grunt in it and make a boundary adjustment or amalgamation. It's similar to what happened in Bathurst, similar to what happened at Dubbo, and they have 9 councillors. So I think it's a step forward. I think we've got to embrace change, and this is a change, and I'm not concerned about whether it is that the electorate will make the decision, whether it's going to be 9 councillors or 12 councillors. I think that is a good thing, the same way as they did with the electorate of the mayor, a public elected mayor. I don't have any problem with that at all myself. It's the electorate making that decision, and I think this is a great opportunity to talk about this and move it forward. So it's on people's mind when they come to the next 4 years, and when it comes up in front, it's not hidden behind any closed doors or anything like that. I think it's a move and a step in the right direction. If anything, you should be chastised for bringing it up so late. You should have brought it up a couple of years ago.
Mr Mayor, could I just ask just a quick question? So the recommendation is for the mayoral minute to be acknowledged. So where do we go to if it's a yes vote? What happens?
It just goes forward to the next council.
That's all it does. So we're not locking anything in tonight. We're just acknowledging it, and it goes forward to the next council to make a decision.
Thank you.
Simple.
Any other speakers? If I can, to close the debate, I don't agree with Councillor Nugent at all about the diversity. I brought some things in tonight. I think it's been interesting over the term of this council that this council is responsible for lack of diversity and so forth. Put those pictures up there. I brought some things in there. I ran for council. She got onto council on her merits. If you look across that wall there, at various times there's 3 councillors on the council. It's up to the community of Orange who they vote for. It's not up to us to tell people that they've got to vote in a certain way. I think if we talk about an ethnicity, I'm not sure where everyone's background is in this room, but I'm sure there are some people who have backgrounds from Italy, might be England, it might be...
Mr Mayor.
Oh, thank you. I've picked up one. And all other sort of place. And I think with the diversity on council, when you have council elections, democracy is about anyone can put their hand up. The other part about democracy is that anyone over that age has the right to vote. They have to vote. And I think I get a little bit tired of saying it's this council's fault or any council's fault. There isn't diversity on the council. I can't tell people how to actually vote. Heaven forbid. It's up for those people to go out there and get support and to get on council. I've served with some wonderful females on this council. I go back to Joyce Hawkes, I go back to Nancy Weatherston, Margaret Stevenson, Pam Ryan, who was the principal of the Sharon Pratt, and the list goes on and on and on. And I think they would be disgusted to think they weren't elected onto the council because of their merit. People wanted them to be on council. You said that it's seen the council has a lack of diversity. Well, that's not our fault. Excuse me, Councillor Nugent, I'm speaking. You don't want to get thrown out in the last meeting, do you? You could be.
Warrington Will Robertson, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, councillors. All in favour? Show of hands, thank you. Against? Thank you. Second one, 2.2, is waiving of function centre fees.
Happy to move it, Mr Mayor.
Mileto, seconded Councillor Romano. All in favour? Thank you very much. Do you want to do that general report?
Mr Mayor, absolutely.
Look, we might do with 510. You have in front of you is a joint regional planning panel. The Orange Region representative extension, because the council will be going into...
Move, Mr Mayor. Happy to second it,
Councillor
Mr Mayor.
Hamling, second Councillor Nugent. All in favour? Aye. Against. Thank you very much.
Please tell Mr Reneke. Please tell Mr Reneke, Mr Hodges.
Yep. Okay. Item 3 is confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 2nd of November.
Happy to move, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Mileto first.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just in regards to the previous minutes, Mr Mayor, in relation to the small donation program request for financial assistance made by the Orange Community Radio Station at the last council meeting, I had considered that there was no direct conflict of interest in regards to one of the candidates on my election ticket being a volunteer committee member of the station. I refer to item 6.1 of those minutes of 2nd November. Subsequently supported the application, Mr Mayor, for the funds to the radio station along with the other councillors. It has been brought to my attention of a potential conflict of interest and been suggested by another councillor. However, I stand by my original decision that there was no direct conflict of interest. In any event, the council has that candidate had subsequently resigned from that voluntary position, which was his intention to do so, and not in any way related to the approval of the grant. Councillors will recall that the matter was brought forward for consideration of approval, and that I spoke for that matter to be held and considered in open council and not in closed council, and which would previously been proposed, Mr Mayor. So I'd just like that put on the record. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Miletto. Councillor Munro.
Yeah, look, my apologies if confusion regarding last week's meeting. Regards item 6. I'd like to make it absolutely clear that I have not sold or purchased any property. Negotiations with regarding the sale of property. Open unitary interest properties.
Councillor Munro, would that be item 6.6, not 6.1?
6.6, sorry, did I say 6.1? I previously had questions regarding the property to start, which relevant. I have written to the CEO, David Waddell, informing him while ever I'm a councillor, not be selling or. I'd like to put my position on public record. Transparency is very important, and let the people of Orange know the statement is made. I'd like to like this statement to.
Councillor Munro. Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. It sounds like it's a confessional box, doesn't it? The thing is that I want to question is can this council move a rescission motion on that decision of 107.5 on that decision and have it handed over to the new council?
Through Mr Chair, I think you missed your opportunity. Decision motion would have been lodged by 12 o'clock the next day or foreshadowed at the meeting, which it was not. So the answer is no.
Mayor, I totally not going to agree with the General Manager on that one. What I'm going to agree with him on is 3 days, 12 o'clock the next day, as regard to any matters of planning. I think a rescission motion can come any time if there's been no action on anything there. Now, that's just my experience. I learnt that from previous times. I know myself and Councillor Taylor and Councillor Whitten had an issue with that before. We just let it go under the table. But with all the events that have happened over the last few days, I'm extremely not happy about the decision that the council made. I was the only one that voted against it, but a lot more air is being filtered in the air. And I'm quite happy to remove a decision motion and let be told by a legal firm that we cannot do it. If someone's prepared to second and well, let's go with it. But I don't think with the atmosphere surrounding the town at the moment, where most of us are very unhappy with what's happening.
Seconded for discussion.
Mr Mayor, I will point out that it will be an invalid rescission motion and Council would have no powers to rescind the previously approved motion. I would also point out you're in caretaker mode.
Unless councillors have any additional information that was not...
Councillors can make decisions up to $236,000.
That's correct, Mr Mayor. However, I'm just pointing out you are also in caretaker mode, so there is a perception to deal with as well amongst the community.
But just make it quite clear, we're in caretaker mode. still Council of Orange until the 4th of December. I'm still the Mayor of Orange until it's declared on the 17th or 18th of December. And I can make commitments, and Council can make up to 230, 236,000. So let's be quite clear about what it actually means being in caretaker mode. Councillor Whitten.
That is correct.
Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My understanding of the rescission motions is that, as the CEO said, but they can be brought back to council if councillors have any additional information. The motion that was not shared with the councillors on the night, I don't know if you have that, Councillor Duffy, so I'll wait for your reply.
And through you, Mr Chair, I would have thought I'd need to be in receipt of that in writing.
What additional information? are we talking?
I will put it in writing to you, to the CEO, but I would like a legal opinion on it. I don't want anyone in this room giving it, because I can't see any lawyers here. Never have before, never before. But everyone seems to be the experts, and I would much rather have a legal opinion to give us the right direction on it, because I know myself and the CEO differ on a number of issues when it comes to rescission motions. I agree with him on when planning issues, because things need to move on. But if something hasn't been acted on, you can have a rescission motion in 3 months, 6 months, whatever, and that is my opinion. But I would like a professional opinion on it.
Okay, well, okay, all
Mr
right.
Chair, can I raise one more point? Sure. Just looking at the staff at the back of the room, does anyone know if we've actually paid that donation already? Director Robb.
In the process of payment at this point in time. It has not been received yet by the...
Could I ask that that's just held until we get that legal opinion? Yep. Okay.
It'll come back to the next.
Is that
new
not an
council.
operational matter?
No, hold it. Councillor Nugent, if legal says that you can have a rescission motion in, the rescission motion will have to be accepted. If it says no, it's no. It just goes ahead as it is.
We don't have a rescission motion.
So Duffy foreshadowed it. Like
Yes, he did.
We don't have a rescission motion.
Councillor Nugent, I've just made a decision. Okay? All right?
No.
All in favour? We're just waiting on a decision to come back from. Against, thank you. Any other matters arising out of the minutes, please? Someone move the minutes of the previous meeting?
I had already moved them, Mr Mayor.
Seconded. Turner, all in favour?
Can I speak, Mr Mayor? Just be clear to those taking the minutes. Council has effectively resolved staff go and get legal advice on whether a rescission motion can or cannot be bought.
Happy with that?
There's nothing to do with the radio station. It's legal advice on
Yes.
that. Until such time, I will withhold that payment instructed by council.
Yep.
Thank you.
5.2 is the Future City Assistance Fund, round 2. First exhibition report.
Item 4, Mr. Have we? Oh, that was item 4.1, Mr Mayor. 4.1.
Oh, sorry, the term and review. I was going to leave that to later. If you have
Oh, okay.
on your desks now, term and review document to get the CEO to speak to it.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. We've changed our tack this year and gone horribly non-local government and produced what we describe as a glossy, which we think might be a little bit more palatable for the community. And really, it does highlight what a productive and ambitious council this last term has been. So a credit to you, councillors, and a big credit to staff. But I'll talk about that a bit later on. The term in review is actually a document produced under the Local Government Act. We've done a small amount of freestyling, forgive us for that, but I just thought it was important that we had a more, user-friendly document. So I commend it to you. Because you are councillors and your names are listed in here, we've given you one copy each. Once the election hits, we'll mass produce copies after the election for the general public. But for tonight, you get one copy. Sorry about that. case you use it as a promotional document, of course.
Yes, well, I'll move it, that you accept it. I've just asked that I'd like to see a photo of the full council and all the senior staff in there.
And we'll bring that to you on December the 5th.
So have a look at it if you've got any comments back to General Manager by the 5th, if you could. Thank you very much. Excellent. Thank you.
There, Mr Mayor, either.
Well, that's
The council. General reports 5.1 is recommendations and resolutions from policy committees.
Recommendations, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Whitten, second.
Happy to second, Mr Mayor.
All in favour? Against? 5.2 is the Future City Assistant Fund, round 2, September 2. Councillor Munro, seconded Councillor Nugent. All in favour?
Mr Mayor, through you, you'd note the Benson's building's being upgraded as we speak. Good part of that.
5.3 is the annual waste diversion and education strategy.
Yeah, happy to move it,
implementation.
Mr Mayor.
Move Councillor Nugent, second Councillor Munro. All in favour? Hands, please. Item 5.4 is the strategic policy review, Orange Regional Gallery Collection Policy. Councillor Munro, seconded Councillor Duffy. In favour? 5.5 is the statement
Happy to
of
move it, Mr
investments.
Chairman.
Move Councillor Duffy, seconded Councillor Munro. Any questions? Councillor Nugent.
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I noted that last month we had gone just over the $200 million of public funds invested, invested. We've dropped back down below that, but I'm not sure whether we've ever been above $200 million before. But it is a significant amount of money in the flavour of putting out a challenge to the next council. We talk about ethical investment in here and ethical investing our money ethically where we can. But I understand a lot of the money that we invest is in short-term, medium, long-term bonds, bank accounts. So we don't really have ultimately much control over where that money gets invested. So I'd like to throw out a challenge to the next council to maybe look at the whole issue of ethical investment of the significant public funds that we as a council are after.
Thanks, Councillor Nugent. Councillor Munro.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I'd like to acknowledge that too. It's a wonderful amount of money, and I feel the council staff have done a wonderful job. I so many things that we've all had a wish list of. At the next spend, as far as I can see, it's only spending that helps communities build projects that are encourage the next council to hold on to the money by a little bit and community. That's what money's for.
Thanks for those words of wisdom, Councillor Munro. Any other speakers? All in favour? Against? Thank you very much. 5.6 is the small donations program, 2021.
Yeah, happy to move the recommendation,
Mr Mayor.
Move Councillor Nugent, second Councillor Duffy. Any questions? All in favour? 5.7 is Service New South Wales for Business.
Move the recommendation, Mr.
Councillor Whitten, second Councillor Miletto. All in favour? Against? Thank you. 5.8 is the extension of the term of the Australia Days Award Committee.
Mr Mayor.
Moved Councillor Nugent, Councillor Turner, seconded Councillor Hamling. Thank you very much. I'm on that committee, but if any other councillor would like to come along to our last couple of months of meetings and all be there on Australia Day to help and support, I'd gather your names at the end of the meeting.
Where's it being held, Mr Mayor? Is it being held down here or is it up there?
Being held in Park, as it has been several years, and it'll be held on Australia Day, the 26th, as per normal. Okay. All in favour? And thank you. 5.9 is the Council Sporting Amenities Asbestos Report.
Move, Mr Mayor.
Second, Mr Mayor.
Fine, thank you.
Moved Councillor Hamming, second Councillor Milletta. I think 5.9, would you like to say anything to that?
No, it's good. Councillor Miletto.
Thanks, Councillor Milletta.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the report and the Director of Technical Services, Mr Greenham. This was a report which I requested some time ago. It's a comprehensive report, certainly covers all the sporting areas, and I think that the users could feel comfortable in the fact that the report shows that all buildings are safe, etc. The only question I have is with regards to some of the fibrous asbestos which have been removed from some of the buildings and replaced by other product. The question I have is one of the council staff could explain disposal, how we treat that asbestos once it's removed from the building, where it goes, etc., and how it's managed.
I'll get Mr Greenham to do that.
Thank you. There is a code of practice for the safe handling of asbestos in small amounts, and it's wet down, double wrapped and disposed of at the Ophir Road Resource Recovery Centre. Any large amounts are done with contractors. Similar sort of process.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Greenham. Any other questions? There's not. Favour? Against? On the late item, Joint Regional Planning Panel. Concludes meeting. I will now call on the CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. If I may, if you could indulge me as a faceless bureaucrat for a couple of minutes, I'd like to say a few words on behalf of the staff. But first I'd like to read out a message from an old friend of the Mayor's who made me promise today to read this. David, he said, could you please pass on my appreciation tonight to Reg for his service to the community of Orange over the past 35 years. Not one person can doubt the loyalty and affection that he has shown for this wonderful city of ours. The incoming Mayor has big boots to fill. I wish Reg and Kerry all the very best in their future endeavours. In appreciation, Tony and Laurie Lay. So on that note from staff, and I'd like to thank all the managers, councillors, what you're looking at up the back, apart from a couple of members of the public, are our managers, those that could make it tonight, and thank them for coming, and you can catch up with them for a drink afterwards and maybe a nibbly. So I'd like to take the time at the end of a very long term. It seems like a long term, and council, it's not because of you. It was a very long term. It was extended twice, and we had that damn virus halfway through it. And a record term, to say a few words. This council has seen administrations come and go, and I was honoured to lead the administration for the last 2 years. And I thank council for that. We had a drought, Ian Greenham, you'd remember that, where we got down to, I can't remember what the number was, 20% or something. But brilliantly, Ian has brought us back to 104% or whatever it is today. But that was a very long year, whatever year that was. And then, of course, we just got the ship back on course and the virus hit. So it's been a long and interesting period. But despite that, I think this council should be very proud of itself, and I hope staff are as well. Because a lot has been achieved. And if you look through that term in review, that really shows that this council was ambitious. It backed the staff, it backed the budget, and I think we should all be proud in this room. So from staff to councillors, I say thank you, and bon voyage to those not running. If you could put your hands up for the public, please, those not running. All the best as you rediscover Tuesday nights and your families and head off to whatever other things you are looking forward to. To those running, if you could put your hands up, we say bonne chance, good luck, and maybe see you in January. To those who run and don't get on, well, I didn't write that category, so sympathies. But to all of you, we say thank you for your respect, your forbearance during the last 4 years. It's been a pleasure working with you all. Thank you too for backing the ambitious agenda that you created and this administration created with you, and we've worked on together for the last period. Council, again, should be suitably proud of the work done across the city in the last 4 years, in my opinion. I believe this city is on a path to greatness. So on that note, I'll ask Renee if she would, and perhaps Kath, someone, no, Mark Hodges. Mark Hodges, I want to be inclusive here. If you could just come and present to the councillors a gift from the staff to councillors, including the Mayor. That'd be great. That's from us to you, councillors, with respect. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Giving each...
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, yeah, sorry.
haven't finished yet. I might keep going. To the Mayor, I haven't finished. You'll know when I finish. I'll tell you I finished.
Mr. CEO, I should have known better.
I mean, he was the first popularly elected Mayor. So to the Mayor, we say well done, sir, and farewell, or adieu, or whatever so long is. The first popularly elected Mayor of Orange is a big thing. I think you're the 54th Mayor or something like that, and you've certainly put your mark on the role this last 4 years. Thank you. Your drive, enthusiasm, knowledge, history are second to none. Personally, I'd like to thank you for your guidance and friendship over the period and wish you all the best as you move into some well-deserved family time, Kerry, Gavin, and pursuit of shiny new things. And I've bought you a personal gift from me, which I hope you maybe could share a glass with me at some stage.
Thank you very, very much.
All the best there. And I've bought you some fishing pliers back, which are yours.
Thanks. Thank you very, very much.
And lastly, Mr. Mayor, to the staff today, at the end of the term, to my directors and friends, I say thanks so much for guiding this ship through some pretty turbulent waters with me. I look forward to working with you on the next term and the programs we've got planned for the organisation in 2022. To you, the managers, and onto your teams, many, many thanks. From Future City, through city presentation, through childcares, water plants, dog pounds, sewerage plants, footpaths, crews, museums, gallery, past the visitors centre, and onto the sports fields of Orange and more. We all say thank you for your fine efforts and for lifting the reputation of this council amongst the ratepayers of Orange. Thank you. Managers, thank you. Now I'm finished.
Right, councillors, I'm going to give you the opportunity to say some words, and Councillor Whidden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I rise firstly on behalf of Councillor Taylor, who has asked me to some words. I visited Glenn this afternoon at his home, and he looks quite well. He looks good. He's got a battle ahead of him, but he did say and ask me to pass on to his family, extended family, for almost a third of his life. Council, to you, Mr. Mayor, he thanked you because both of you have been together in this chamber for a long, long time. And he said he's broken-hearted that he's not running, but he's looking forward to a bit of a break and challenge ahead of him now. And, he wishes everybody in this room who are retiring as undefeated. His words, undefeated. Leaving the field with the bat in hand and the ball, not having your stumps knocked over is so. They are small words, but they are big words, and he wishes everyone well. We hope to see you all soon. Merry Christmas. Thank you very much, Mr Mayor, for the opportunity to speak.
Thanks, Councillor.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I also would like to acknowledge Councillor Taylor in his absence and wish him all the very best in the process and the recovery, hopefully, that he's going through at the moment. I also want to acknowledge two other councillors who are not here, in Councillor Privatera passing and his contribution to council. Councillor Joanne McRae, who contributed as Deputy Mayor and over the 4 years as a committee chair and in the chamber as well. So I'd like to acknowledge councillors. I'd like to acknowledge my fellow councillors in the room and thank them for their contributions, the robust debate we've had at times, and particularly acknowledge you, Mr Mayor, as your role as Mayor and the 32 years you've served this city. We don't always see eye to eye on issues, but it's good that we can have a debate and discussion. What else? I also just want to sort of say it's been an interesting 4 years and 3 months. As Mr Waddell pointed out, it's been through quite a bit globally, in Australia and here in Orange, in terms of the drought, in terms of COVID-19, in terms of the current sort of flooding that we're experiencing in some parts of the city. So it is a land of extremes, and we've certainly lived through those extremes in the last 4 years. I'd like to finish just by acknowledging the staff and thank every member of staff in the organisation, but particularly Mr Waddell, our 4 directors who are with us tonight, and all of the managers who we get to work with in various ways, but particularly from my point of view in the community committee meetings, and the contributions that you've all made to those community committee meetings have made those forums, which in my mind are a conduit between the people of the city and the staff, and they've made them very effective and a really important part of what we do as council. So thank you one and all for everything that you contribute on a daily basis, but particularly in terms of those community and the contributions or the support that you provide to us. I'd be neglectful if I didn't mention our executive support team, who are here every meeting, making sure that the technology works and runs according to how it needs to run, and also providing us with the paper, the documentation. I look forward to seeing everyone in the next term of council sitting with their little iPads on their desk, doing their council papers that way. Anyway, thank you very much, and it's been great being part of it. I don't expect to be here in February, so best wishes to all that are.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I first of all want to start with acknowledging retiring councillors and Councillor Sam Romano. Sam, I want to say thank you to you for your friendship over the last 4 or 5 years, whatever it is. So it's been much appreciated. And I know it's been extremely hard with COVID and our loss of your good friend Mario, who we all thoroughly enjoyed. I know myself and Mario and a couple of the staff really had some fantastic times after the council meetings where we enjoyed our company. I think that was that to me was something special. And I just want to say that to you and Karen, I hope you enjoy your retirement away from local government. But I also wish you well with Andrew. I think Andrew's going to be probably something special, but I wish you well in all your endeavours. I want to now go across the room here, across the mafia room over here. I used to call it. There was Hamo, there was Munro, there was Miletto, and there was Turno over there. There was Mario and Romano. I call it the mafia side. Russell, I want to say, Councillor Turner, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your contribution in this chamber over a lot of years and at the state parliament level. Your experience is invaluable. There was many a time where you hopped up, you said, we agreed with each other on various issues there, which tells me that you and I don't bring our politics into the chamber that very often. And that to me is extremely important. Because I know you want good roads. I know you want good footpaths. I know you want good parks, and so do we all. And I think I want to say thank you. And to you and Di, enjoy your retirement. I think it's well deserved. And if I accidentally become mayor, I can tell you one of your pets is being built down there. There's a conservatorium. I'll guarantee that you'll be opening it. And I think it's one of your pets that's been all the way along. And if I
You going to vote for him now, Russ?
Bribery.
I might have to, mightn't I? Might be the vote.
I just want to go on another bit here to Councillor McRae's not here with us, but I can tell you something about Councillor McRae. Bureaucratically, she's probably been one of the best councillors I've ever seen. She spoke well, she's attention to detail, and she was very good on the radio and informing people, and people enjoyed that. I think that she did that, and I just want to say thank you to her for that. I now want to turn my attention to a friend of mine, and sometimes he's been my enemy, is Councillor Taylor. Now, Councillor Taylor was in this room here for 26 years. 26 years, he served the people of Orange with no self-interest at all, never ever raised an issue of code of conduct against anyone at all. In the last couple of years, 3 targeted him. 1 by staff, which was someone who's supposed to have sworn at me. Wow, well, I tell them to join the queue if they want to swear at me. Do it every day of the week as far as I'm concerned. But I know Councillor Taylor didn't, and it didn't go anywhere, which was good and totally exonerated. The other one was when we walked out of the room for the domestic violence centre. We were exonerated. Councillor Taylor was exonerated. Not only were we exonerated, we were told we did the right thing, and we learnt that, and I knew that from experience. The last one, and I've made plenty of it, which cost that other one cost the council probably nearly $10,000 or more. But the last one cost council about $2,500, which he was totally exonerated from again. Totally exonerated again for his comments that he made in the press. Totally exonerated. And the person who put him up there both occasions, let me tell you, the Ratepayers Association put the letter out there across the world on social media. And I think that maybe one of the candidates should fess up at one of their meetings of who put the last one in.
So Duffy, I didn't think I was going to have to do this to you tonight.
I'm going to now.
This is
Mr. Mayor,
being nice.
I've only got one to go, and that's you.
I know.
Right, stop there.
How pleased I am to see the staff here, but I cannot see one smile on their faces. I asked a few of them while they were here, and you know what they said? We're here to make sure he goes. They didn't say you're staying or what they wanted you to say. I mean, they put it around and took the hat around, and it was empty, and they got it. But I said, look, by having Irish ancestors, you know, you do things in reverse, don't you, sometimes? And I did. I went home the other night and I only took Sandra. Sandra's gone away for a couple of days. I said, I've got to write something down for Reg. So I sort of think I'll do it in reverse. And I said, right, I started to think all the
he might not be here.
things he's done. And stuff like the Magna Carta. It was a mile of it. And I was thinking about the good things, but there wasn't many of those. But let me tell you, Reg, I do want to pat you on the back for this. I think as a mayor, you've given 125%. I think it's absolutely fantastic. You've gone to every time. I think there was only one time I saw him cranky when I pinched the front page off him. Yeah, ever the CWD. I pinched the front page on him, he rang me up and got up me. So that was it. But I think as a mayor, you have given 125%. But let me tell you the good part about Rex. A number of times we've travelled away together. We went to the Alice Springs and we never ever talked council. We didn't talk council. We went and went there. I don't know who we were with, Rex, but we're driving down one of the streets in the Alice and here's this police car in front of us saying no speeding was on thing. And we went to Mr Bojangles. It was really a highlight of our thing, although we must spend most of the time at the conference. But the big one, the Ballarat Agreement. Ballarat Agreement. One thing I like about Reg, when we went away, we always drove wherever we could. We went one way and then came home a different way, which is what all councils should do, so they get to see what happened. Now, when we were down in Ballarat, we were there, we went to Sovereign Hill, and the bloke there was giving a bit of a speech about gold and how good Ballarat gold was. And well, let me tell you, the mayor did himself proud. he got up him. He said, mate, you don't know what you're talking about. We found it in Ophir. It's near it's better. And when Simon Crean was here, we told Simon Crean at the time, but the difference was his was B grade and ours was A grade. Getting back to the Ballarat thing, we finished at the conference, and it was a very good conference. We were coming home, and we stopped to see, on the way down, Catholic Cathedral down there, which is bigger than St Mary's Cathedral in Sydney. And look, you might think Reg is fairly stingy, and I probably don't. We disagree with that, but this day something strange happened. He wanted a photo taken with a Mary MacKillop statue, and I thought, thank God, he better not bloody touch that because it'll probably melt, with his religious background. Anyway, we gave him the photo. Anyway, we hopped in the car and we're finally heading back towards Jerilderie or wherever we're coming back through. And he said, here, he threw this thing at me. I ducked because I didn't know what he was throwing at me. He said, don't ever say I don't give you anything. It was a sketch drawing of the cathedral at Bendigo. And while we're away, we come up with the Ballarat Agreement. I'm not going to tell you what it was. It has had an impact on this council. It's pretty good. But, Reg, I want to go back to the fact is I thank you for your company over a lot of years as a friend, right from our school days right through, even though we went to different schools. And your performance as mayor, I thought this term has been absolutely brilliant. And I think, you and Kerry probably deserve a rest for 2 or 3 years, whether you come back as a member for Orange or whether you come back as a member for Calare or whatever your endeavours are. I wish you well, but I also wish you well with Kerry and your family and your grandchildren.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't know what to say because it's all been said, just about. So I'm going to make mine short. I've enjoyed the term on council. Obviously, very hurt with the passing of my good friend, former councillor Mario Privatera, and then Joanne McRae resigned, and now Glenn Taylor's not feeling the best. He's not well, so that's very sad. And I will wish Glenn all the best and a quick recovery. He has been a councillor for 26 years. Yes, he has got Orange at heart. I'd like to thank all the councillors for their debate performances. It's been terrific. You can't always agree on everything. That's politics. All the staff have been tremendous. I said that in another article that I found the staff and David Waddell being extremely respectful, and you can't ask for any more than that. So yeah, I'm not going to run again. I'm going to have a break and head interstate while I'm still a bit healthy. And I wish all the councillors that are running all the best. I hope you achieve your goal. And take care. And thank you for all the staff support. Thank you very much for everything in the last 4 years.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I'll be very quick as well. I think everything has been said, especially from Councillor Duffy, who fought for a fair while, but that's all right. I'd just like to acknowledge the councillors that aren't here, Councillor Privatera, Councillor McRae, Councillor Taylor. You look at the experience that this chamber is losing with Councillor Turner hanging up his boots, yourself, Mr Mayor, and Councillor Taylor. There's a lot of years there and there's a lot of experience, and you can't buy experience. So, I think... I'll come to you in a minute. I think the chamber will... it'll be a lot different place without having those old heads, when things are starting to go a bit sideways, trying to pull it back into normal range. I'd like to acknowledge the councillors that are not standing for council at the next term. Councillor Nugent, number 6, I'd be a miracle, hopefully, and Councillor Romano as well. Yourself, I'd like to thank you guys for the debate that we've had here. I want to thank the council staff, Dave, yourself, and management, and all the staff. There's never been an issue with a phone call to you guys. It's always sorted. It's amazing. Like, I had an issue this afternoon in my street where down the road a lady's water was leaking. The council staff were up there in 10 minutes fixing it. So there's never been an issue. Whenever there's a problem, council staff are always onto it. Mr Mayor, I'd like to thank you. What an innings. Amazing. Such a long time serving the community. Like everything else, we haven't seen eye to eye, but this year we've seen eye to eye on a few things, and it's been great working with you on some of those big projects that are going to help the city. Not help us, but help the city, help our future generations. And I'd like to say congratulations to you and to Kerry and the grandkids and the kids. Go and enjoy them because, you only live once, so you got to go and spend that time with your family. And I'd like to thank everyone for such a great term because, as this review says, we have done a lot. So, you look on social media saying that we haven't done much. Well, read that and weep all those people that are saying that because we have achieved a lot as a council. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Munro.
Thank you, councillors, Mr Mayor, and the public that are listening. All being said, and it's, I suppose for me, important thing for me, player, is knowledge that I've made a difference in some little way, and I think each and every one of us that way as well. Economics of our town, we just looked at that $200 million. Place that people want to. But that has COVID. Back, John Davis, how long is he here? Gary Styles, slap ourselves a little, but it's takers. What you've done, Mr Mayor, and others that have been time chipped away and chipped away. Hospital went. What a wonderful thing. Why we hit with long in Cabon and then us what we have done. It's probably what's held all that together. Being the major city, got a lot of good staff through that. For instance, engineer and a great person that worked for regards to, so we've got the pipeline and all those things. There's so many. So I hope that the next council I've done over read the papers, I then very much everybody, and I appreciate.
Councillor Maletta.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Like other councillors, I think most of what I'm going to say has been said. Mayor, in particular, I'd like to thank you for your service. I think you've always had the community at heart. I think you've put in more than 100% at times, and not at times, all the time. And you took it right to the end. I actually thought you were going to change your mind and run again because you were so focused on going to the last day, and I think that's a credit to you and to your professionalism which you've shown. Before I thank the other councillors, I would like to pay special mention to the council staff, because without them, I don't think we could have achieved some of the objectives which we have over the last 4 years and 3 months. I think what sometimes goes unnoticed is that the staff can either make councillors look good or make us look bad. And throughout the 4 years, I think it's been a privilege and an honour to be a councillor, but also work with some of the professional staff which we have. I think that councillors can never complain that they haven't been provided information to make an informed decision on anything. If anything, we're provided more than what we needed. So that's a credit. I don't think that the public realise not only do councillors at times make sacrifices of being a councillor, because if you do the job properly, there's an expectation that when you become a councillor that you'll be involved in community committees, things like that. And if you do that, it takes up a lot of your private time, but you don't put your hand up unless you're prepared to do that. But it's not only the councillors who make those sacrifices. I was on a number of community committees which other councillors were as well. But at each of those community committees was a staff member, and they were giving up their time after hours and to support whether it's myself or other councillors. And I think sometimes that is underestimated, the sacrifices which council staff make. So whilst, yes, people will say, well, that's their job, they get paid for it, I don't really agree with that, because to get paid is one thing, but to enjoy it and actually do it in a professional way where you're supporting not only the councillors but the community Orange in moving forward, I think that says more to me about the individuals than what people really realise. So thank you, staff, and for the professionalism that you're displayed and the support which you've given all the councillors here, also past councillors who I also acknowledge of Macrae, Councillor Prevetera, and unfortunately Councillor Taylor, who isn't feeling well. To you other councillors, thank you for your friendship. Also the debate which we've had during the term, whilst at times it was robust. Councillor Whitten said to me when I first joined council, he said, don't take it to heart. He said, it's sometimes it's, you want to take it personally, but you don't. He said, because it's, it's what we do. And I always remember that, Councillor Whitten, and I do appreciate you passing on those comments and experience, because sometimes there are things or comments made within council here which are hard to put aside, but at the end of the day, you just walk away and say, well, okay, maybe I didn't go the way I wanted to, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I think that's a credit to all the councillors that we were able to do that. And we achieved some great results, which hopefully in years to come will go down in history. But, certainly being a councillor, you make sacrifices, and to all our families, they would know that the time that we put in to being a councillor, we're in the public eye a lot, but we don't do that. We don't become a councillor knowing that we were going to get an easy run as part of the role, and I acknowledge that. So to all you councillors, Councillor Turner, thank you for your service. Mr Mayor, as I've said, you went right to the end. You haven't finished yet, but you're still going, and I really respect that, and thank you for that. Mr Waddell, you've embraced the challenge, and I'm pleased to say that you have earned the respect of the community, certainly earned my respect, and hopefully that you've earned it of all staff. So to everyone, all the best, and for the future. Thank you very much.
Councillor Turner.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. A little bit emotional tonight. In case I do forget, firstly, then I'll come back to what I was going to say. Firstly, thank you, Mr Waddell, and thank you to all the senior staff for the assistance that you have given me, contribution that you have made to Orange in whatever roles that you have, and I wish you all the very best future. But Mr Mayor, 48 years ago, Ian and I and our 3 young kids, I think one was still in nappies, we moved Sydney, moved our poultry business up here to Orange, purely and simply because we liked the area, and purely and simply one of the things that had an egg board. Going back in history in those days with all the boards that we had, the egg board, potato board, wheat board, all the boards, technically when the egg left the bird it belonged to the egg board. us, not to Diane and I, it belonged to the Egg Board, but they did pay us for it. But yeah, that was one of the reasons we moved to Orange. And then not long after we moved to Orange, we were invited to join Apex. That was more or less the start of our public life, because Diane was an Apexy, and I think they were called in those days. And through Apex, and particularly through Glenn Tarpenter, we had an Australia Day function out at the farm. Gary West was there, who was the local member at the time, and we had lamb on the spit, and we had about 80 or 90 people there, locals and Apexians, and we said, this went down well, we should do this. Because until then, Australia Day wasn't celebrated. It was just a long weekend, closest Monday to 26th. So from there on, Australia Day has been held in Orange on the 26th, and I'm very proud of the contribution that I've made through that. In 1991, on Martin Gleeson's ticket, I was elected to be a councillor on Orange City Council. That sort of really started another stage in my life. I stayed on the council in that particular time until 2004. I'm going to get some of this wrong. Until 2004, because in 1996 I became a state member. That was certainly an honour that I couldn't have imagined would happen. So for the next 7 years I was on Orange City Council as well as being the state member. Can't do that these days. Mucked up the system, and that was now allowed. So I served my term, as I said, as the state member. And when I made my final speech in State Parliament, it wasn't as emotional as being here tonight, because more of a family and part of Orange and part of the people of Orange for so long. So it is, if I can just slightly quickly recall some of the committees. I've been on the previous Sale Yards Committee, eat up in the canteen, up at the sale yards, all gone. I was represented Orange City Council on the board of Ophir County Council. Gone. The building's gone. It's now the Ophir car park. I've been on the Showground Committee term. I've been on the Traffic Committee, and I might note that at the last Traffic Committee meeting the other morning, they gave myself and Jeff Lewis, well, because Jeff has resigned as well, or retired as well. Jeff represented Gary West before I became the member. He represented my Council Traffic Committee, and he then represented current federal member, Andrew G, and then Phil Donato. So he's been around on the Traffic Committee that I have, and I'm sure the CEO a letter written and already been. And of course then, very importantly, the last term I've been chair, thank you Councillor Whitten for suggesting it, of planning and development. There's been some wonderful developments happening. Dollar terms, in employment opportunity terms, and the future of Orange. It's a wonderful period that I have been chair of planning and development, and again, all the work that goes on behind the scenes, and people complain that their development has taken too long to go through council, etc. But when you look behind the scenes, it's usually because someone sought an amendment, something hasn't complied, and as I often say to people, quite often it's beyond council's ability. It's a state government regulation or a law that won't allow someone to do something with the development as far as Orange is concerned. Thank you, Councillor Duffy, for that support for the Conservatorium. As I have said before, every recommendation regarding the Conservatorium that's come up in this term of council has had unanimous support I am sure that we'll continue in the new council getting unanimous support for that absolutely worthy project. And whether I vote for you, Councillor Duffy, you'll never know because it's a secret ballot. But you might need that one vote. You will never know if you win by one vote. Anyway, but thank you. Apart from all that, thank you for the ongoing support that you have given. Just also like to, we go on about what Orange City Council has done and what it's achieved, but we could not do any of that without the support of the business owners in it. Whether it's a small little one-man business right through to major businesses like Pie Bar. Can't mention them all because there's just so many to mention. And when you see small businesses start and grow in Orange, and very gratifying, and council would not be council and state governments and federal governments would not be what they are without the business owners employing the vast majority of people. And I'm sure that this will continue, and we certainly acknowledge the tough area, the tough times that some of those employers have gone through at the moment with the crisis that we've. So that's about all I want to say, apart from thanking my one. I dragged her over the mountains and I've dragged her through many decisions that some have been wise, some have not been so. She's looked after the kids and basically reared the kids while I was going. We've had some great times, we've had some great overseas, and we will, when we're allowed to, we will continue to have one or two more while we can. But thank you, Dev. Thank you all for the wonderful experience that I've had.
I think that's the first time a council has been kissed in the chamber. I hope so. Ladies and gentlemen, finish off the evening. I've been thinking about what I would say, and I reflected back to how this all started for me. It started as a bet. I do love a bet. That bet was with a former mayor of Orange, but he wasn't a mayor at the time. He was running for council, and it was John Bunky Davis, one of the best mayors that I'd worked with. I was supposed to run for council with him, but at that stage I hadn't told my wife. I hadn't told anyone except a few people. The Royal Hotel where Emus used to have their training sessions, and I didn't run, and he was quite upset, and he wrote on the back of a beer coaster one night and got me to sign it that I would run the next time, and I completely forgot about it. Bunky Davis and Tony Lane, a heap of others, kept it and remind me. So I ran for council. Given to me just recently. So this is for actually the CEO. That is what a moustache is.
Ines Lilly.
So I ran for council back with John Davis, and not tickets or anything, could just vote one or two, and we both got on, and it was fantastic. And then the next time I ran for council, I ran with another good friend, and that was Sharon Pratt. It's now Sharon Boog. Fortunately, lost Bunky, but over that time, I've been very, very fortunate to be on council, I should say, with some fantastic councillors, many to explain. But I think two of the mayors that I'm on council with that I would like to mention is Councillor Dick Niven, Councillor Bunky Davis. Both put so much back into Orange. They were fantastic to work with. I've worked with a number of GMs going back to, people would forget, Max Boss, then right through to Alan Dwyer, and then right through to current CEO. He's not a GM, he's a CEO. But I think what is important with this council has been to me, and it was hard for us, I think this council, internal fortitude, so to speak, to go forward and put a new broom through this place and appoint a new CEO and make the position a CEO, not a general manager, and a number of directors that I think that we can be extremely proud of. to better transparency, more accountability going forward, and that's what's expected from the community out there. And I certainly believe that as a council, you are all leaving in place a good model and a good captains of our ship, so to speak, and all the other staff. So I think that I can guarantee you, Councillor Turner, myself and the other ones that are retiring, will still there and ring you up and give you our opinions. You don't have to listen, but we will be. When I first went on council, it was very, very collegiate and quite different to what it is now. I remember being in here at meetings at 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, going over budget line, item by item by item. Then having discussions afterwards, very, very, very long nights, and that must have been terribly hard on staff. And I do recall one meeting, actually. The meeting had finished and we're discussing things when there was a knock on that door up the back there. It's the cleaning staff that had arrived at 5:30 in the morning. Certainly we don't have those sorts of things anymore, and I think it's a good thing. The council has a new broom came through this council and what we're doing, and I think one of the really great things in the last term of this council for me has been, personally, this council has dealt with over $200 million, and that's not counting the grants. This council staff have pulled. Now that has been monumental amount of money that's been pulled from the federal government, state government, for a whole range of projects, whether it be for the conservatorium, whether it be for the extension to the art library, for the Southern Distributor, for the sports precinct, for various sporting fields, senior citizens, and it goes on and on and on. And I must say that's been hard work by everyone concerned, because the seat in Orange isn't held by one of the major parties. It's been hard work, that was. With the federal government, they are really, really hard to work with sometimes, but we've been able to get those funding. So I think the challenge to the new council will be continuing with that on, because a lot of those projects need to be finished. Personally, again, I think one of the greatest things I enjoyed is, suppose, making a comment in here, council meeting one night that got some beautiful heritage in Orange. We're not doing enough about it. And Bunky Davis said, good. The next meeting he formed a Heritage Advisory Committee and told me that I was the chair. So that's how things worked. And we have, since that time, had a Heritage Advisory Committee, specialist staff in the areas of heritage now, and we're acknowledged for the work that we do in the heritage area right across the state. We're also acknowledged as a council for the work we've done in water management. That goes back quite a while. It's ongoing. It's a job that we'll never ever actually have finished. But we're seen as best practice with water management, and in some of the innovative things that this council, stormwater harvesting, our involvement with the community, and how we have the lowest consumptive use of potable water of anywhere in Australia. A number of our staff have been acknowledged with some of those programs internationally and papers here in Australia, which is fantastic. I think in another area, I think, is that vision that we're not just about sport. Sometimes the criticism is that we're this and that we're not that. But if you look across Orange, if you look at sport, look at the range of cultural activities that this council has been involved with and our city's involved with, right through to, a regional art, a regional museum, regional sporting complex that's coming on board. Our hospital, our new hospital, is seen as a regional hospital. That's attracted new private hospital and a doubling of Dudley Private Hospital. We've got industries, manufacturing industries, that have moved here when there was a downturn in the economy and COVID, that moved out of Sydney, moved out of Melbourne into Orange, and a couple of others online. So manufacturing businesses. If we look at the expansion in mining, if we look at businesses like PYBAR, Hortz Engineering and others that employ hundreds of people that go in conjunction with Cadia Minor with about 11 or 1,200. We had the agricultural arm of Macquarie Bank moved out of Sydney up to here, and we have a director of Macquarie Bank lives here in Orange and works out of Orange, the Hive, and then goes back and forth to Sydney and overseas when that opens up. So we're certainly getting a reputation as an economic centre. We've also got a reputation as a cultural centre, a range of things. Got a reputation for food and wine, there's no doubt about that, and an extensive reputation across the board, particularly for sport in the area of young people. They're the important ones. So I thank all the councillors, all the staff for being part of that journey, continuing on, because I love Orange. It's been my home. I was born and bred here, and I go back several generations. Another reason for going on council, I always believed in, don't tell people what to do, get on there and do something about it yourself. There's too many people out there that are very, very good at telling others what to do and what not to do. If you want to make a difference in anything, you've got to get out, do something about it. I quote something that was told me at school, and I've always remembered, and it was about a young bloke called Christopher Columbus. Everyone thought was a bit mad because he believed the world wasn't flat. He convinced the Queen, funded him a couple of boats, some money, off he went. He proved the world wasn't flat. Just wonder if he would have listened to everyone and said, no, it's flat, don't do anything about it, we'd still be living on a flat earth. So I think encourage everybody, that's the attitude that we actually should take. It's been 30 odd years now, and the person I've got to thank the most there is my wife, Kerry. I think this is the second time Kerry's been in the council chambers. The first time was when I became the properly elected mayor. I did make a promise on that night that I would step down and take a break at the end of this council. Kept that promise. Most important thing with that I have 3 wonderful sons, 3 fantastic daughter-in-laws, and all of them have got grandchildren. I'm looking forward to spending a bit more time with them while I can, while I'm reasonably fit, and all those things that grandparents like to actually do and then giving them back. And I do. I love my grandchildren. I've been fortunate, and my sons are fantastic, and as I said to my daughter-in-laws, and I look forward to being able to put that time in. I also look forward to be continually being involved in my community. I think a couple of councillors actually mentioned it is important. Our council runs on something that a lot of other councils don't run on. That's community advisory committees. I think in total we have about 26. A lot of councils don't have advisory committees. The council just meet once a month, some of them meet twice a month. They make the decision and that's it. There's not much input from the community. We have 26, and I don't wear when people say there's no consultation, because there's incredible processes that you can be involved in, be part of that consultation. I think the other part of this council was live streaming. Up amongst the first councils to move into live streaming. They wish to come in, watch those council meetings again, and I think that's an important part of the transparency, the accountability, engagement with the community. To finish up, the really fun times. I used to love council's involvement in Christmas. We used to have a parade down the main street and singing carols in the park. I was Santa Claus for 8 years. I had my beard pulled. I had all sorts of things happen to me as Santa Claus. But of course, things have changed with occupational health and safety. You can't do those things now and have Santa Claus coming down the street without having a child check, not being able to get out lollies, all sorts of things you have to go through. I really, really enjoyed that, the street party and the carols, which we still have. I think Another thing that I'm quite proud of was the Emmaville Cottage. And we copped a bit of flack about that too. I don't really care all that much if Banjo Patterson was actually born there or not, but it got us a 1 hour documentary that's been shown on about 6 different occasions on the ABC, been shown on the BBC twice, and it's been on NBC, and I think that is the cheapest advertising or media the City of Orange ever got. And of course the cottage is there, and it's an important part of our Botanic Gardens. And next month, my wife and I are celebrating a special event, and we'll be having something that I've been involved with since 1978, continually since then, and that's the Orange Botanic Gardens. At that time, it was an interesting thing to finish up. The Botanic Gardens, I was teaching at TAFE at that time, the flack in Orange about the Botanic Gardens. It's too far out of town. No one would go there. The soil was no good. Got all the experts telling us it was better if it was out towards Mount Canobolas, who was on this side, not realising that the land was given to them. It was a good reason to have it where it is, or to buy anything, and have a look at the Botanic Gardens now. It's just starting to really move, and it takes a long time. Botanic Gardens, and look at the amount of houses around the Botanic Gardens now, and the prices some of those houses are back onto the Botanic Gardens are actually bringing. And finally, but not least, and this is for Councillor Nugent, that with trees, people will know that I'm an absolute greenie, and I have been all my life, and I'm very proud that the only councillor I know that did chain myself to a tree in Oak, boss at the Metropolitan Hotel. My mentor professionally at the time, a chap called Bob Eastoe. My mother used to say the only reason we chained ourselves to it because it was dead opposite the pub. Well, that do with it too, but it saved that pin oak. Years later, the pin oak died, and it's been replaced since because it was an important issue. It was just been taken because all the old engineering used to be the easiest way to build a roundabout or build anything is take all the trees out and then plant them back, save that one tree. But if you have a look from that pin oak all the way down to the courthouse, there's not a tree. They're all gone. So it's been a great journey. Thank you, David, and to all the staff. And I mean all those special staff that I've been friends with right over at the Works Depot, out at the Sewerage Works, administrative staff, Parks and Garden staff. Many of them have retired and no longer with us, and we've lost some of those people. Made a lot of really, really good friends, council, and I won't say that I won't miss them because I will still see them. And it'll be great to follow how council's going. So to all of you, have a great Christmas and a great time with your families. Our friends, I'll be still knocking around in this place until they declare the polls late in December. I wish everyone that's standing well. It's not an easy task. You're putting yourself above the paramount. If you get picked, you will get thing. And I go out of council with only one disappointment. That's social media. Downfall in our communities now is social media, and people who like to take cheap shots at anybody, including children. Saw one recently, a shot at one of our councillors. I thought was deplorable. If I wasn't council, I would have throttled the person, to be quite frank, that made that remark. I do understand how young people at school can get bullied through social media. I think it's a time that as a community everyone woke up to social media and got back to being fair income and front up. If you're not game to say something under your own name or to go in and complain about something, don't do it. So, Gary? Thanks.
Please join us next door in the foyer of the theatre up there for a drink and a nibble if you would.